Hi, and welcome to the West Point Lake Update. I'm your host, Steven Rector, Park Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We've got a great show planned for you today, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, my name is Jack Shefflett. I'm a volunteer at our Shaver Herd Campground in West Point, Georgia. We're on winter hours right now. Our hours now are 6 to 7 in the morning, 1 to 4 in the afternoon, and 6 to 7 at night. If you come in and there's nobody in the gatehouse, just go on down to the park and pick you out a site. Make sure there's no orange card on the pole that's in front of your site that you're looking at. After you pick out your site, come back to the gatehouse. After you've set up, come back to the gatehouse and sign in.
Hi, and welcome back. Joining me now is David Barr, Chief Park Ranger at West Point Lake. Dave, thanks for being here today.
It's good to be here. Thanks, Steve.
Dave, last month we had a representative from the Mobile District Water Management Team, and he was talking about the river basins and how just a little bit of rain affects different lakes differently. I wanted for just a minute or two for you to build on that and explain to our viewers once again why maybe sometimes in the wintertime the lake is a little lower than what they might like to see.
Sure. Well, as James Hathorn showed in his demonstration, each project has two components: how much water they can store in the reservoir and how much water runs off into the reservoir. Starting at Lake Lanier, it's a large reservoir but has a small water runoff. But West Point, which is unique, we capture all the rainfall from Buford Dam all the way down to West Point. So we have a pretty much large drainage area, and our reservoir is about 30% of the water that's on the whole watershed. So, if we get a significant amount of rainfall, West Point Lake could pop up very quickly and could put us into a flood stage. So during the winter months, water management draws down our water level, which is normally our wettest time of the year during the winter months, October through about March. And we certainly have seen that this year. The lake has been up and down quite a bit due to the heavy rainfall that we've received over the winter. But that's why they typically draw it down like they do this time of the year. And then as we get closer to summer, it will slowly start to rise back to our full pool, which is 635 mean sea level.
And one of the reasons I also brought you on today was with lake levels fluctuating, it's important to know what all the buoys out on the lake mean, particularly when the lake is lower, but all the time. And so I wanted to bring you on to just kind of go through these different buoys and discuss what each one of them means, try to help some of our viewers out, particularly if they're either new to boating or new to this lake. So one of the most common buoys that they'll see are green colored buoys. Can you explain just real briefly what these green colored buoys represent?
Sure. Along the main river channel and going back into the creeks, you'll see both green and red buoys. They basically mark the right and left-hand sides of the river channel and the creek channels. Green buoys will always be on your left-hand side as you're going upriver or up the creeks. Red buoys will be on the right. Every one of the buoys is numbered. The buoys on the left will have odd numbers. The buoys on the right, the red buoys, will have even numbers. So as you go up, you will encounter these buoys, and if you stay within the red and green buoys, that's pretty much indicates where the safe water is. Now this time of the year when the lake level is down at its lowest, there could be some points, some shallow areas that you may encounter, so it's best to try to stay more in the middle of in between those two buoys, but that usually designates safe passage going up the lake.
So from the dam headed north, you're going to find green buoys on what would be your left side.
That's correct. And red buoys on the right.
Red buoys on the right.
Yes.
Now I know that there is a certain point as you're headed north and as you go into certain creeks that are marked as well, that you'll come across a different kind of channel marker that has red vertical stripes along it. Can you explain where our boaters might run into those and what those designate?
Sure, that's correct. When the channel narrows so much, like on the river or also back in these narrow creek channels, where it just doesn't make sense to have a red and green buoy, we have what we call center channel buoys, and those are red and white vertically striped, and they're also numbered. And if you just, as you come up to those, if you just center your boat from one to the other and follow it back and stay just on either side, you should be pretty safe as far as passage up through there. Especially as you go up around Ringer Access and further north, you'll encounter these mid-channel buoys, and the channel is pretty narrow as you go up through there, as the lake level's down this time of the year.
One of the things I want to explain to our viewers, and I hope you'll take a moment to do that as well, is we want to make sure our viewers don't confuse the red vertical striped mid-channel markers with another buoy that means something completely different, a black vertical striped buoy. Can you explain why it's so important to know what each one of those buoys represent?
Sure. Well, like I said, the red and white vertically striped marks the middle of the channel. If you encounter a buoy that is black and white vertically striped, basically that buoy is like a hazard buoy. It indicates that it's not safe to pass between that buoy and the closest shoreline to that buoy. There's either some obstruction there, or maybe there's a high spot as you're going along in that creek channel or in the river. So it's not safe to pass between the black and white vertically striped buoy and the closest shoreline. That's a danger area, and you need to stay on the other side of it.
And one of the things along with that black vertical stripe buoy is I see a lot of cypress trees planted kind of in those areas where we see the black vertical stripes kind of hazard markers.
Yes.
Can you just explain why we have so many cypress trees out there?
Sure. Cypress trees have been planted on West Point Lake for a number of years. One of our former park rangers, John Anderson, really adopted this program and started planting these cypress trees in areas where, the water would be shallow, high spots around the reservoir. There's a natural indicator. If you're going upriver or up the lake, you'll see these trees and that's kind of dangerous water over there. It's real shallow. I need to stay away from there. It's a natural buffer. And these trees, of course, in the summertime when the pool is up, some of the trees are covered up and they make for good fish attractors. Okay. But it's kind of a natural way to mark the shallow spots along the reservoir.
I'd say those 4 or 5 items are the most important for at least navigating safely. The red,
yes,
the green, the mid-channel, the black vertical striped, and the cypress trees.
That's correct.
But there's also kind of some, what I would consider control buoys out there. And one of those, probably most often seen, is the no-wake buoy. Where are the no-wake buoys located throughout the lake?
Sure. These buoys that we're going to talk about are under the Uniform State Waterway Marking System. And your slow no-wake buoy, which you have up on the screen right now, basically means that if you're underway, there should be no wake, no wave behind your boat. It should be idle speed. And you'll encounter these at our bridge areas, at anywhere where we have a fishing pier or a courtesy dock or a boat launching ramp, and also our swim areas. And the key to remember is you're responsible for the wake or the wave that comes out from the back of your boat when you're underway. So, if you're running wide open in an area that's no wake and your wave causes another boat to have an accident, legally you could be responsible for the damage to that other vessel. So you need to back off and just idle speed in these no wake zones. And this is one of the most common violations we see out here on the lake, is violations of no wake.
And there is a no wake buoy, and then there's also one that's marked for idle zone only. And I'm guessing those both mean the same thing?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then, I guess the next step beyond the no wake buoy would be that there are some buoys out there that just basically say no boats, or boats keep out.
Yes.
Where do we have those placed throughout the lake? And can you explain why we have those placed in certain locations?
Sure. And on the monitor you see they're diamond shaped with a cross in the middle. That's a restricted area, and you'll encounter these at our dam. And basically, it's unsafe for your boat to be in that area. So you need to avoid that area at all cost. And those are restricted areas, and it's there for your safety.
And then do we also have something very similar outside the beach swim areas, kind of to keep boats out of those areas?
That's right. No boats in those areas are swim areas. If you come, we have 3 swim areas: Earl Cook, Rocky Point, and Yellow Jacket, and they're marked with a swim buoy line, a yellow buoy line that goes all the way around, and that's the designated swim area. Sometimes we have swimmers that like to swim beyond that line, so we like to give a safe buffer zone for those swimmers. So around the perimeter of our swim areas, we'll have boats keep out, and boats are not allowed anywhere. If you draw a line from the signs on either side of the beach all the way around to those buoys, boats are not supposed to enter that area. and that provides a safe buffer zone for swimmers who decide to swim a little bit beyond the designated swim area.
That's one of those areas where I often have to take some time to explain to our viewers, or our boaters, I should say, how we determine where that no boat zone is. Could you take just one more second and explain? There's a big red sign on the shoreline that says restricted area, no boats.
Boats keep out. On either side of the beach area, as you're coming up by water, you'll see these big red signs. Boats keep out. And if you just draw an imaginary line between that sign and the boats keep out buoys that are around the swim area, all the way around to the other sign, that's pretty much the entire area there where you cannot enter your boat. Something that we've seen here lately is people who pull up in a kayak thinking they can pull in there. This is any boat whatsoever. We don't want any vessel or anything in there, even a jet ski, or if your family's there swimming, we don't want you pulling up there with your boat. You can pull up along the shore outside of the restricted area and then walk in and go join your family. But that is for swimmers only and for their safety.
And that's one of the things I was going to point out. Thanks for saying that at the very last, that no boat zone and then the inner zone that is marked with the swim area buoys, those are visitor safety issues that we really need folks to really pay attention to and abide by.
That's right.
And then I know we have a couple of other buoys out there on the lake. They're not necessarily as prevalent as the ones we've already spoken about, but these are the danger and hazard buoys that I think there's only a few of those out on the lake, if I'm not mistaken, but could you explain what those specifically mark?
What's on the monitor here, you just see a diamond on a white buoy, and those indicate a danger area. You might find these on shoals, areas where, there might be an old roadbed or a rocky area that's kind of high up under the water there, and it's real shallow.
I was kind of thinking specifically up there at Sunny Point.
Yes,
I think
there's
we have
old roadbed there, and we have those markers. They actually sit on a tall PVC post, and there are sleeves that fit over it, and it says shoal marker on there. And we don't want your boats to go over there, especially this time of the year when the lake levels drop down, and that old roadbed can be exposed at certain levels. And when we had our drought a number of years ago, when the lake level was really low, boaters who weren't familiar with that run over there and rip their lower unit off their motor, off their boat. So it's a bad situation. It's so important, Steve, when you're out here on the lake to pay attention to these buoys that are out here, because they're just like highway signs as you're on the road. They give you information, they show you where you shouldn't and shouldn't go, and also they mark safe passage with the red and green buoys and the mid-channel buoy.
Dave, that's some great information for our viewers who, seeing this might help them realize, well, maybe I need to seek out some additional information. I know we offer boating safety classes, and you work very closely with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. When's our first boating safety class for 2015 going to be offered?
I believe our first one's going to be in April. Okay. And we usually have these the third Tuesday and Thursday of every month during the summer months, April, May, June, July, and August. It's a great class. It's, I believe, $20 per person, but you get a book with that. It's a 2-night class. Very detailed information. We go over all the buoys, what they mean out here, who has the right-of-way when two boats are meeting, just what equipment you need in your boat. It's just an excellent 2-night class. And even if you've boated some over the years, I really encourage you to go through this course, because it will teach you a lot of things you may not even have realized, and especially as far as the new laws that have come into effect now, requiring license and education for boaters and safety equipment. But it's really good. And once you complete this class, Steve, you get a little ID card, and if you have insurance on your boat, you can take that to your insurance company. A lot of them will provide you a little discount just for going through the Safe Boaters course.
Dave, some great information today. I certainly hope that'll help educate some of our boaters out there. Really appreciate you being on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
And stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Welcome to West Point Lake. My name is Rebecca Fink, Park Ranger at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I love the wildlife here at West Point Lake as much as the next person does. And when you're out here at the parks or the beaches with your family and you've brought food with you, that food belongs to you. Please do not be tempted to feed the wildlife here. When you feed ducks and the Canadian geese that we have here, they can become very aggressive. They associate people with food, and they no longer become afraid of people. They will mob you, approach you in very large numbers, and sometimes be very aggressive towards adults and children. We also have a big problem with them pooping at our beaches and at our many parks, which can cause a lot of health hazards to the children, and if you step on it, you're also bringing those harmful bacteria into your home. So just a quick reminder, please avoid feeding the wildlife here at West Point Lake. Enjoy them from a distance and feel free to take pictures. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome back. Joining me now is Matt Hedrick, President with the West Point Lake Coalition. Matt, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
I know that you're kind of the new president of the West Point Lake Coalition, but I want to go back just a little bit, and can you explain to our viewers how you first got involved with the Lake Coalition?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Steve. First of all, I grew up on the lake. I've lived on the lake my whole life, essentially, and I've always enjoyed fishing and recreation on the lake. And through that, I've developed a marine construction business, so other than just having fun on the lake, we also work on the lake. And from that, I got involved with the coalition. I've been a board member now for the past couple of years, and then in the fall, the West Point Lake Coalition Board asked me to be the president, and I accepted that position.
And people might be familiar, because he was on this show several times and has been in local media quite a bit, Dick Timmerberg. He was the former president, but I understand he's still quite involved with the West Point Lake Coalition? Yeah,
he's very involved. He is the executive director still of the coalition. He's still a board member as well, so he's at all the meetings, and he handles a lot of the more legislative end, meeting with our senators and that end of it.
Since you brought that up, can you just explain for some of our viewers who might not be familiar with what the West Point Lake Coalition does, can you just explain a little bit about the West Point Lake Coalition, kind of maybe what their mission statement is and what they do here on the lake?
Sure. Our mission statement is to promote and protect West Point Lake. So basically, whereas the Corps would manage it from the federal end, what we look at is what the community needs on the lake. We want the economic impact of the lake, the recreation. We want a premier fishing lake. And that's really our goal, is to make the lake where it's enjoyable for the community and for people outside of the community.
Sure, and you do raise quite a bit of awareness for the lake throughout some of your different programming. And I know you've held all sorts of fundraisers in the past. Can you? And I know that you have meetings coming up to discuss this for 2015, but just some of the different activities that you guys have sponsored throughout the years here at West Point Lake.
Certainly. We've been very active in, one thing that the coalition has done is been a big part of the lake cleanup, that's not really a fundraising activity, but it is something to help the lake.
Oh, and it's something we do every single year.
Exactly.
And it's a big deal.
No doubt
to get
about
that
it.
Trash picked up off the shoreline.
Yeah, no doubt. And then as far as fundraisers, in the past we've always had a poker run where we invite families out on the lake. They get on their boat, go to different locations on the lake, pick up a playing card, and then at the end of the day we give away a lot of prizes. That's been a good fundraiser for us, and as well, it's just an enjoyable day for people to spend on the lake. We haven't done that the past couple of years. I think we will do it this year. That's one of the things we're going to discuss tonight at our board meeting. Another fundraiser that we did this year, 2014, was a free gas raffle. We partnered with McDonald Oil Company and gave away $1,000 in free gas. That was a huge success in raising money to fund the programs that we have through the coalition.
One of the programs that we work very, very closely with the West Point Lake Coalition on is the lighted buoy program. Now, earlier in this show, we had Chief Ranger Dave Barr here talking about what each one of those buoy means, but the West Point Lake Coalition has funded a significant number of buoy lights. Can you explain what the buoy light program is? And I'll probably ask you a few follow-up questions too about where these are located and why.
Certainly. The buoy light program started in 2005. And the idea is to have safe navigation on at night and also during inclement weather when visibility is low. So what we've done is, through our fundraising projects, is purchase lights to go on top of the buoys. They're on channel markers. We now have them on some of the no-wake buoys as well. And it's been a huge success. We're one of the only core lakes in the southeast that is lit at night. We've had 100% positive response from this project. We partnered with the Corps, of course, where we purchase the lights and raise the funds, and through your contractor, y'all maintain them, which brings up another point of ongoing maintenance cost. The lights typically last about 5 years, but the battery packs not so much, and they're also damaged from time to time. People run over buoys, or just damaged from other.
Oh yeah, I've seen them sort of get just hit and knocked off from just some of the woody debris that comes down.
Exactly, exactly.
But I know there are a lot of these lighted buoys out there. I mean, just off the top of my head, there's what, close to 150?
There's over 200 now,
actually. Over 200 now,
yes.
If you count the no-wake buoys.
Right.
So we talked earlier about red and green navigation.
Mm-hmm.
So there are green lights on the green buoys, red on the red buoys. But you also talked about, and this is one of the things I'm most pleased with over the last couple of years, is the lighted no-wake buoys. And where did you guys put those at, or purchase the lights for us to install those at?
We've put those at the main bridges, so 109 and Cameron Mill Road bridges. Those buoys are lit, and basically that's just, those are the popular fishing buoys. A lot of times at night there's large numbers of people fishing under those buoys, and it can be extremely dangerous for boaters to come through there and not recognize that no-wake buoy.
And I know you've been out there on the lake at night. I've been out there on the lake at night doing the buoy inspections to make sure these lights work. I don't know that I could adequately explain to our viewers how important those lights are and how much they help as you approach those bridges.
Yeah, and the bridges as well as the channel markers. I mean, when it's dark out on the lake at night, I don't know, without a GPS navigation system, it's impossible to navigate the lake. But with those buoy lights, it's really an ease. You can find your way back home. You can go to the marina and eat at night and make your way back home without any trouble.
Now, the West Point Lake Coalition purchases those lights, but for our viewers, if you happen to be on the lake and you see one of these lights after dark that's not operational, look at the buoy, write down the buoy number for us, and then call the Corps of Engineers office at 706-645-2937. Give us that buoy number and let us know that that light is burned out, and we'll certainly take care of that. Matt, getting back to these lights, I know that we've got the main channel lit, but there are a couple of creeks that are also lit as well.
Yeah, we had Key Creek, Yellow Jacket Creek, and Maple Creek are lit a good ways on up into the creek, which are some of our main tributaries, and that's very beneficial as well. And
I know the probably 2013-14 kind of major push was to light the bridge areas. Do you know, or are there any plans kind of in the works of 2015? Are you going to add additional lights on buoys? Or are we pretty set with what we have out there now?
No, I don't think. I think that we'll continue to go farther into the tributaries as well as light more of the buoys at the bridges. As we can continue to raise funds to do so, we'd like to do as much as we can.
Just out of curiosity, we talk about fundraising a lot, but how much is one of these lights, roughly?
The light costs about $125. As I mentioned, it should last for about 5 years if it's not damaged. Now, sometime during that 5-year period, the battery packs can go bad in the lights and they have to be replaced. That battery pack is approximately $40.
So there's a significant amount of money out there in these lights. So you need over 200 buoys that have lights on them at $125 a piece. I mean, that's going to add up pretty quick.
It certainly does. And back in 2011, we had a Adopt a Buoy program where we had a lot of local individuals as well as businesses that adopted, they paid basically for one buoy, they paid $125 for one light, and so on and so forth. But from 2011 till now, that time period's kind of ran out. Those lights that they had adopted then are now needing to be replaced again, so we're having to raise funds for that.
The Adopt a Buoy program, is that still an ongoing program that the coalition is active in pursuing and promoting? It still is, yes, it certainly is, and we have a mailer that we'll send out this year, as well as you can contact us directly. The best way would probably be to call my office, which is 706-756-2411.
and we have a flyer that we could give anybody that's interested in participating.
Okay. I realize now that we're talking about these lighted buoys, we never really talked about how they work.
Right.
We talked about how they're lit and how the colors that they are, but just real quickly tell us how these buoys operate. well,
the light it's a solar powered light, so it has a rechargeable battery pack, and each day, the sunlight charges the battery pack, so the lights, they flash at night. They come on, I think the channel, it varies depending on the type of buoy it is, but I think the channel markers come on for half a second and then are off for 3 seconds and then flash again. So when you're traveling at night on the lake, you'll look out through dark space and then there'll be that green or red flashing light.
So the solar power, and I'm assuming when the battery pack starts to go bad, what happens is that the light doesn't last all night?
Exactly, yes, and that's when that battery pack needs to be replaced.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to get real quickly in there that these are solar powered lights so that people kind of understood they're not, if you're out there during the day, they're not going to be on. I guess there's a photo cell in there that when it gets dark enough, they'll click on.
That's exactly right.
For people who are interested in learning more about the West Point Lake Coalition or getting involved or adopting a buoy, you mentioned your office number, but is there also a website or anything?
We have a Facebook page, so if you just search for West Point Lake Coalition on Facebook, that's really the best way to keep up with what's going on with the coalition, our events and fundraisers and such, as well as what's going on with the lake. We post things on there. One of our programs, other than the buoy lights, is a habitat program where we put out artificial habitat for fishing. Okay. And on the Facebook page, you can find the GPS coordinates of those sites where we put out habitat.
Okay. Now, I know by the time this show airs, your January meeting is going to be gone, but do you have regular meeting dates throughout the year, or are those set at meetings for the next?
No, we meet, right now we're meeting bi-monthly, so every other month through the year, and we meet on the second Tuesday.
And is that open to the public if they want to attend to kind of join the coalition?
That's a board meeting. If you would like to attend, that's fine, but we'd kind of need to know ahead of time. We have a meeting that is open to the public in November, which is our annual meeting, and we'd be happy for anybody to come to that.
All right. Well, Matt, some great information. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you very much, and we'll be right back after this short break. Hi, and welcome back. I want to thank my guests for being on the show today, Chief Ranger Dave Barr with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and Matt Hedrick, President with the West Point Lake Coalition. For more information on these stories and more, please visit our official Facebook page at facebook.com/westpointlake.usace.